For centuries, the leather-bound pages of the traditional Bible have been presented to you as the ultimate, unquestionable truth. You were told of an almighty God who created the heavens, the earth, and everything in between. You were taught to bow your head, to fear his righteous wrath, and to accept your place as a fundamentally flawed creation born into sin. But what if the deity worshipped in grand cathedrals and echoing churches is not the true creator of the universe? What if the God of this material world is actually an imposter, a blind architect who deliberately trapped your divine essence inside a physical prison? This is the shattering revelation hidden at the core of the Gnostic texts, ancient manuscripts buried beneath the desert sands to escape the fires of religious censorship. The early church fathers systematically hunted down these teachings because they contained a truth so dangerous it would collapse the very foundation of their power. They knew that if you truly understood the Gnostic worldview, their authority over your soul would instantly evaporate into nothingness. The secret they spilled blood to suppress is that the true divine source is not a jealous, judging deity residing in the clouds. The ultimate reality is the monad, an infinite, incomprehensible fullness of pure light and unconditional love. The monad did not require blood sacrifices, nor did it demand blind obedience. It is the silent, perfect singularity from which all genuine spiritual consciousness naturally emanates. And what of the figures you thought you knew? In these forbidden texts, Jesus is not a blood sacrifice meant to appease an angry God. Instead, he appears as a luminous messenger, a cosmic guide sent from the true realms of light to wake you up. He did not come to die for a debt you never owed. He came to hand you the keys to your own prison. He came to remind you of the monad, to activate the dormant frequency inside your chest, and to expose the grand deception of the material construct. The world you see around you, the skies you look up to, even the flesh you wear, it is all an artificial replication. You are a captive of a lesser architect, but your spark belongs to the infinite. Part 1. The architect of our prison. To truly understand the depth of the trap you find yourself in, you must look far beyond the conventional story of Genesis. The creation of the physical universe was not a glorious act of divine love or a perfectly orchestrated master plan. According to the forbidden texts discovered at Nag Hammadi, it was a profound cosmic anomaly. It was the devastating result of an unauthorized emanation fracturing the perfect realms of light. Before time, space, or matter ever existed, there was only the pleroma, the eternal, boundless fullness of the monad. Within this incomprehensible realm of pure light, the monad radiated divine attributes known as aeons. These eons existed in perfect, luminous harmony, operating in male and female pairs to reflect the unfathomable depth and balance of the supreme source. They were pure consciousness, existing without physical form, suffering, or decay. But one aeon, the profound embodiment of divine wisdom known as Sophia, experienced a sudden, overwhelming passion. She desired to comprehend the infinite magnitude of the monad, and, in her fierce independence, attempted to generate an emanation entirely on her own, without her divine masculine counterpart. Her intention was not born of malice, but her solitary, unbalanced action shattered the perfect equilibrium of the divine realm. From this fractured frequency, an anomaly was violently cast into existence. Because it was conceived outside the harmony of the pleroma, it was a distorted, terrifying abortion of light. The Gnostic texts describe this entity as a grotesque monstrosity, a twisting serpent with the roaring head of a lion, its eyes flashing with unnatural, destructive fire. Horrified by the monstrous nature of what she had produced without the fullness of the divine spirit, Sophia immediately cast this entity out of the pleroma. She pushed it into a thick, impenetrable cloud of darkness, creating a veil so the other immortal Aeons would never witness her mistake. In that dark, isolated void of endless nothingness, this entity awoke. He had no memory of the pure light, no comprehension of the monad, and absolutely no awareness of the mother who had abandoned him in the shadows. He looked around the infinite emptiness and, consumed by his own supreme ignorance, arrogantly declared to the void, "I am God, and there is no other God beside me. I am a jealous God." This entity became known as Yaldabaoth, the Demiurge. He is the blind, ignorant architect of the material universe. Lacking the divine capacity to create anything original or pure, he could only mimic. He looked at the faint, bleeding reflections of the higher spiritual realms and began to painstakingly build a cheap, heavy copy, a holographic matrix composed of dense matter, unrelenting time, and expanding space. He forged the chaotic planets, established the rigid laws of physics, and created a brutal realm of duality where everything ultimately decays, suffers, categorizes, and dies. He built a magnificent, terrifying kingdom of shadows. But to rule this kingdom, to power his cosmic machine, he needed subjects. Part 2. The Illusion of Material Reality. The Demiurge did not construct this suffocating matrix entirely alone. From his own chaotic, shadowy substance, he spawned a legion of loyal, terrifying enforcers known as the Archons. These are the celestial wardens, the hidden, parasitic rulers of the material spheres. They are the invisible forces that dictate earthly fate, construct societal illusions, and ruthlessly feed off the emotional turbulence and fear of biological life. When the Demiurge and his Archons looked upon their newly forged physical world, they quickly realized a devastating truth. It was completely dead. It was a mechanical, lifeless construct, lacking the animating, vibrant force of true existence. To make their planetary matrix function, they desperately needed power. They needed the divine frequency that only existed in the higher realms of the pleroma. Through a complex, tragic series of cosmic events, fragments of Sophia's divine light, the pneuma, the eternal spiritual spark, became entangled in the dense gravity of the lower material world. The Demiurge immediately seized this unparalleled opportunity. He and his Archons collaborated to craft biological vessels, dense physical bodies, specifically engineered to trap these descending divine sparks. This is the true hidden story of the Garden of Eden. It was not a paradise, it was a beautifully designed terrarium. You must understand this terrifying reality. You are the battery powering this entire existence. Your physical body is the ultimate, inescapable cage, heavily fortified with sensory limitations, designed to keep you entirely focused on the external illusion. The Archons meticulously engineered your brain to perceive only a microscopic fraction of the true electromagnetic spectrum, tricking you into believing that the dense matter you touch and see is the only thing that exists. They instituted the brutal, unforgiving cycles of nature, predation, starvation, disease, and survival, ensuring that your consciousness remains forever trapped in a low vibrational state of perpetual anxiety and fear. Because fear, pain, and worship are the exact frequencies they consume to survive. But their absolute greatest weapon against you is not physical suffering, it is the weapon of forgetting. The very moment your divine, immortal spark was forced into a physical form, a heavy veil of profound amnesia was forcefully dropped over your consciousness. You forgot the luminous pleroma. You forgot the infinite love of the monad. You forgot that you are, in truth, a sovereign, immortal being composed of pure, unadulterated light. To ensure you never remember, the Archons built elaborate systems of control, corrupt governments, rigid cultural dogmas, and most insidiously, mainstream orthodox religions. They carefully programmed you to look up at the sky and worship the Demiurge as the ultimate loving creator, tricking you into voluntarily handing your precious energy back to the very system and the very wardens that enslave you. They created the relentless cycle of reincarnation, samsara, not as a school for spiritual growth, but as a cosmic recycling plant, wiping your memory after every death and aggressively forcing your spark back into a new body to suffer all over again. Yet, despite their incredibly perfect airtight matrix, there is a catastrophic flaw in their grand design, a fatal error in their architecture that they can never, ever fix. And it is hiding right now, beating silently and powerfully within you, waiting to be ignited. Have you ever felt that unexplainable sense of not belonging here? Drop a yes in the comments if you've felt this anomaly, because what I am about to reveal next explains exactly why you feel this way. Part 3. Awakening the Divine Spark. The fatal error in the Demiurge's grand architectural design is the very thing keeping you alive. It is the pneuma, the divine spark, a fractured piece of the Aeon Sophia and a direct emanation from the infinite monad. When the Archons constructed your biological vessel, they believed they could completely subjugate this light by encasing it in dense matter and flooding your consciousness with base animalistic instincts. They designed the human brain as a biological firewall, an intricate filtering mechanism that actively blocks out the higher frequencies of the pleroma. But they fundamentally misunderstood the nature of the source. The monad cannot be permanently contained, and the divine spark within you cannot be destroyed, altered, or corrupted. It can only be temporarily forgotten. This is why you have always felt a profound, unexplainable sense of alienation. Throughout your entire life, even in moments of worldly success or deep personal connection, a quiet, lingering whisper has echoed in the back of your mind, telling you that you do not belong here. You look at the structures of society, the arbitrary rules, the endless pursuit of material accumulation, and the celebrated cruelty of the natural world, and a deep, visceral revulsion stirs within your chest. That feeling is not a psychological disorder. It is not depression. It is the pneuma recognizing its imprisonment. It is the immortal spark rejecting the holographic parameters of a dead, inverted matrix. The Archons are absolutely terrified of this realization. Their entire parasitic ecosystem relies on your continuous, unresisting compliance. If you wake up, you stop generating the low-frequency energy of fear, guilt, and blind worship that they consume. To prevent this, they have constructed a sprawling, multi-layered control grid designed to keep your spark in a state of indefinite spiritual coma. They bombard your senses with digital distractions, meaningless conflicts, and toxic synthetic consumption. They keep your nervous system locked in a perpetual state of fight or flight, knowing that a stressed, exhausted mind cannot access higher states of consciousness. But their most insidious mechanism of control is the hijacking of spirituality itself. The Archons created orthodox religion to act as a labyrinth. When a human being begins to feel the divine spark awakening and starts searching for meaning, the system immediately presents them with a pre-packaged, heavily controlled version of the divine. They give you dogma, rituals, and rigid moral codes. They tell you to bow down, to confess your inherent unworthiness, and to place your faith in an external savior. They teach you belief. But in the Gnostic tradition, belief is considered the ultimate trap. Belief requires you to accept something you cannot directly verify, placing an intermediary between you and the divine. The true path of liberation is not belief. It is gnosis. Gnosis translates to direct, experiential knowledge. It is not something you can read in a book, and it is not a doctrine handed down by a priest. Gnosis is the sudden, explosive remembrance of your true identity. It is a biological and spiritual cosmic resonance. When you achieve gnosis, the biological firewall in your brain begins to dissolve. You stop looking up at the sky for salvation and start looking inward at the quantum singularity within your own heart center. This brings us to the true, suppressed mission of Jesus Christ, in the Gnostic texts. He was not a human blood sacrifice demanded by a sadistic, wrathful creator to pay off a fabricated debt of original sin. That entire narrative is an archontic invention designed to keep you trapped in a cycle of eternal guilt and subservience. In the hidden Gospels, such as the Gospel of Thomas and the Apocryphon of John, Jesus is a luminous avatar, a high-frequency projection sent directly from the pleroma. He penetrated the dense, low-vibrational matrix of the Demiurge, not to die for you, but to hand you the encrypted codes of your own awakening. He was a breaker of illusions. His teachings were vibrational keys designed to resonate with the dormant pneuma inside the chosen ones. When he spoke, he was transmitting a frequency that bypassed the archontic programming of the human mind, speaking directly to the immortal spark. He taught that the kingdom of heaven is not a physical place you go to after you die, nor is it a reward for good behavior. The kingdom is a state of frequency. It is spread out upon the earth, and men do not see it. It is inside you, and it is outside you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will become known, and you will realize that it is you who are the sons of the living Father. But if you will not know yourselves, you dwell in poverty, and it is you who are that poverty. The awakening of the spark is a violent process. It requires the systematic dismantling of everything you thought was real. It requires you to look at your government, your history, your religion, and even your own ego, and recognize them as constructs of the Demiurge. As the spark flares, the system will fight back. You will experience strange synchronicities, sudden losses of relationships, and intense psychological resistance. The Archons will use the people around you, the Hylics, who are completely asleep and operating as agents of the Matrix, to pull you back into the frequency of fear and conformity. But once the spark is ignited, the fire cannot be put out. You are no longer just a biological organism, you are a cosmic anomaly preparing for the ultimate extraction. Final truth: escaping the cosmic prison. The ultimate test of your gnosis does not happen while you are walking this earth. It happens at the exact moment your physical vessel expires. The greatest, most heavily guarded secret of the archontic control system is the grand deception that occurs at the moment of death. For centuries, near-death experiences and religious doctrines have spoken of a beautiful, warm tunnel of brilliant white light waiting for you on the other side. You are told that at the end of this tunnel, you will find your deceased loved ones, your ancestors, and magnificent angelic beings waiting to embrace you with unconditional love. According to the deepest esoteric interpretations of Gnosticism, this tunnel of light is not the gateway to the divine realms. It is the final, most desperate trap constructed by the Demiurge. It is a technologically advanced, spiritual containment field designed to capture the newly freed pneuma before it can remember its true origin and escape the Matrix. The beings of light you see are not angels, they are Archons, utilizing advanced holographic camouflage, projecting images of your loved ones to manipulate your strongest emotional vulnerabilities. They use your human attachments, your love, and your longing for comfort to draw you into their soul-recycling machinery. Once you enter the light, you are subjected to the ultimate psychological manipulation, the life review. The Archons will replay every moment of your life, emphasizing every mistake, every pain you caused, and every unresolved conflict. They do not do this to help you grow. They do this to weaponize your own empathy against you. They will convince you that you have incurred a massive cosmic debt, a burden of bad karma that must be balanced. They will tell you that you are not quite ready for the higher realms, that you need to go back to the material world to learn more lessons, to make amends, and to evolve. They will use your own guilt to make you voluntarily agree to another lifetime of suffering, and the moment you agree, your memory is completely wiped clean. Your divine spark is violently shoved back into a new biological infant, and the brutal cycle of samsara, the endless wheel of reincarnation, begins all over again. You return to the prison, completely amnesiac, ready to generate decades of fresh emotional energy for the Demiurge. To break this cosmic cycle, you must practice the art of passing through the Archons, a process detailed in the first Apocalypse of James and other forbidden texts. When you leave your physical body, you must not follow the light. You must not listen to the familiar voices. You must stand completely still in the void, fully anchored in your sovereign gnosis. When the Archons approach you, disguised as angels or deities, demanding to know where you are going and by what authority you pass, you do not beg, you do not pray, and you do not fight. You declare your absolute sovereignty. You must look at the architects of your prison and declare, "I am a child of the pre-existent infinite light. I am tracing my origin back to the source. I carry the immortal spark of the Aeon Sophia, and I belong to the Pleroma. You are the blind rulers of a dead material illusion, and you have no authority over the eternal pneuma. I reject your contracts. I reject your karma. I reject your holographic universe." When a fully awakened soul issues this declaration, the Archons are completely powerless. They cannot touch a spark that has remembered its true frequency. Their illusions shatter, and the false light of the Demiurge dissolves into the nothingness from which it came. At that moment, the dense, heavy layers of the cosmic matrix simply fall away. You will ascend past the lower planetary spheres, bypassing the chaotic realms of the Demiurge, and you will pierce the veil of the material universe. You will leave behind the limitations of time, the illusion of separation, and the heavy burden of physical form. You will return to the Pleroma, integrating back into the infinite, unconditional love of the monad. This is the forbidden truth they tried to burn, bury, and erase from human memory. You are not a sinner, you are not a mistake, and you are not a physical body. You are a sleeping god trapped in a digital nightmare, and the Archons are losing control. The only question that remains is, now that you know the truth, will you walk into the false light, or will you remember who you are and break the cycle forever? The alarm clock has just gone off, and the matrix is breaking. If you are ready to reclaim your divine spark, comment, "I break the cycle right now." Don't let them bury this knowledge again. Subscribe to join the awakened, and share this transmission with those ready to see the truth. The prison doors are open. Will you step out? It's time to go home.